of America. My name is Stephen Schwab, and I currently serve as your council president. This is an unusual time. You see it on the news every day, and we talk about it almost incessantly. It's also the first time that we've needed to do one of our annual meetings virtually. We don't have a lot of experience with this, but so far it's working. And we're not going to be able, as a result, to take questions. We may be able to figure that out for next year. Right now, I'm just glad that all of you have joined us. And I would say at the outset that we're Pathway. We blaze new trails every day, electronic. So welcome, and I now call on our Vice President of Legal, Kevin Slaughter. Kevin?
Thank you, Stephen. Each year, the council conducts the annual meeting for the purpose of receiving the financial reports of the council, electing council members at large, associated honorary members, electing members as representatives to the National Council, electing at-large members of the executive, and electing members of the executive board. All newly elected members will assume office immediately following the annual meeting. In accordance with the bylaws of the council, the following individuals are eligible to vote. Active members, which are defined in the bylaws as chartered organization representatives currently appointed to their respective chartered organizations, and members at large. Each active member is entitled to 1 vote. Now I'll ask Terry Dutton to explain how to cast your votes.
Good evening, everyone. When a question is called to a vote for the business meeting tonight, a poll will appear on your screen. You simply need to make your vote on the screen. President Schwab will allow approximately a minute for voting. Once he has closed the voting, the results will appear on the screen for everyone to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. The 2019 annual meeting minutes, that is the minutes from the last year's meeting, have been included in your packet, and Terry will post them on the screen. May I please receive a motion to approve the May 2nd, 2019 annual meeting minutes? Jerry, is your microphone on?
Spencer Long muted, so moved in the chat.
Okay.
I second the motion.
Spencer, and thank you, Sue Simmons. A motion has been made and seconded. Please see your screens for the minutes approval poll and select yes or no. Note that you need to submit after you've checked yes or no at the bottom of the screen.
There's a request for from someone to move up the document.
Terry, if you can do that, they want to see all the names on the page.
Thank you. I'll do that. At this point, I only have the first page of the document. I know that Maureen Elroy did send that out to everyone in their packet, but I've got the first page there for everyone.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think we ought to be able to teach something to Congress and our state representatives about how to do an election. So far, this is a lot easier.
Mr. Schwab, about a minute and a half has passed. However, 42 of our attendees have voted, which means there may be some more that still need to vote.
Okay. And how are we doing, Terry, on approvals?
It is 100% in favor of approving.
Okay, so we've got 71 participants. 42 voted in favor. That means regardless what happens with the rest of the votes, we've got more than 50%. The motion to approve the 2019 meeting minutes has been approved. Thank you very much, everybody. I will now ask our treasurer, Jerry Brand, to update us on the council's 2019 financial report.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm learning Zoom today as well, like a lot of other people. It's a very new technology and it's wonderful to have. I would like to thank everyone again for joining this meeting tonight so we can kind of go over where the finances of the councils are at the end of 2019, plus where we're at going forward. Once again, as I said in the last time, all comments to the numbers are derived from unaudited statements. Their internal financial statements are still subject to our annual review and audit and adjustment. Our accounting firm has pretty much finished their work, so numbers are pretty much going to be consistent. I'm rounding all numbers for just generality and to keep things simple a little bit. As we talked last year, our finances are made up of 3 funds. We have Fund 1, which is our operating fund, which is our programs, camps, and administration of the council. Fund 2, which is our capital fund, which is all of our properties and betterments. And Fund 3, which is our savings and endowment, which is made up of 2 components: money that we've built up over the years for saving that is available and unrestricted, and money that was given with restriction, which is often referred to as an endowment. For 2019, we'll talk about Fund 1, which is our operating fund. We basically have 2 buckets of revenue that we generate. Our annual budget for 2019 was $7.5 million, which actually reduced from 2018, which is $8 million. So in our first primary bucket, we have direct support, which is our Friends of Scouting, fundraising, and legacy. Great news is our FOS was up $40,000 from 2018. Unfortunately, our special events were down $100,000 from 2018. Foundations and TRUP 75, but other direct were down $20,000. So overall, we were about $215,000 down in our direct support from last year. Which is really what scouting is derived from, comes from product sales, programs, camping, activities, and investments. Our sales supplies were down about $165,000. Our product sales, which is popcorn, pretty much stayed flat from the previous year. Our investment income was up $300,000. Our camps actually were up $325,000. A lot of this was due to actually unfortunate nature from camps in other areas that suffered storms that damaged them, and they sent their scouts to our camps. That also increased our program expense and supplies by about $140,000. Our other activity and revenues were actually up $100,000. So the revenue derived from our program side was actually up $500,000. Expense-wise, our compensation did go up in 2019. We actually filled a lot of important roles and spots within our council to bring in the key employees we need to keep on growing our council. And other expenses were up $140,000 from 2018, mostly, once again, in program supplies. So we did finish the year, when we take our revenue and our expenses overall, we ended up the year with a deficit of about $390,000 compared to $350,000. When we look at the council as a whole, our working capital, or our unrestricted net assets, is still at $1 million. So we have a positive net assets or working capital. It's down about the $350,000 to $390,000 due to the deficit we had last year. On the cash side, we actually have about $2 million at the end of 2019 compared to $1.9 million at the end of 2018. So financially, we still actually have an operational fund that actually has a working capital surplus. When we look at Fund 2, which is our properties, that actually has a net assets of $7 million and cash of about $1.9 million compared to $7.2 million in 2018 and $2.1 million in cash. We're investing back in our camps and doing a lot of repairs and maintenance to improve the facilities for our scouts and scouters when they are going to camps. Fund 3, which is often referred to, I call it our savings and endowment. Our endowment, which is donor restricted, has $9.8 million at the end of 2019 compared to 9.2 at the end of 2018. The money we've saved up and built up, which is unrestricted for the council to use, is $8.9 million at the end of 2019 compared to $8 million at the end of 2018. So in all, our Fund 3 has a total of $18.7 million compared to $17.2 at the end of 2018. When you look at all of our funds put together, we actually have $4 million in cash at the end of 2019 and 2018. Our net assets without donor restrictions at the end of 2019 was $16.8 million compared to $16.5 million at the end of 2018. Net assets with donor restrictions were at about $10 million at the end of 2019 compared to $9.2 million. And overall total net assets, which is often referred to working capital, was $26.7 million at the end of 2019 compared to $25.8 million at the end of 2018. So at the end of 2019, we actually did finish strong and we're financially in very good position. But as we're all aware, we are actually in very interesting times, and a lot of concern is how we're going to go forward. As a council, we have the resources to weather through this current environment. Many of our special events and programs have been deferred in 2019. But along with the strength of our volunteers and staff, we also have the following financial resources to grow and continue once we get through this time. We have $2.6 million in cash. We have a $2 million line of credit, which we haven't even tapped on. We have available, after taking into consideration the economic downturn over the last month, about $7.5 million in savings in Fund 3. We're also looking into opportunities through the government where there's a Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP, which might be able to inject funds into the council over a given period of time. So when we look at our council, one of the nice things, we have the financial resources to move forward. In this time when fear is often being talked about, we need to look at hope and faith of how we're going to move forward once we get through this time. So in closing, if there is ever a time where the scouting program is vital, it's now. We need the leadership skills that scouting's developed to help guide us through these challenges. So I'd like to thank you for your time and your support and your continuing volunteering. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Jerry. Very good job. I've worked with Jerry on council-related finances now for a decade. And all I can tell you is not only is he detail-oriented and absolutely focused on and committed to scouting, but he's becoming an optimist every day. Thank you, Jerry. I will now ask Kenny Sjogren, our chair of the nominating committee, to present the nominating committee report. Kenny?
Thank you, Stephen. All recommendations received in writing from active members of the council at least 30 days prior to this meeting were considered by the nominating committee in the preparation of our report. The nominees for council members at large, representatives to the National Council, and honorary members are listed in our report. Terry, can you please post this to the screen? Thanks, Terry. I move to elect these individuals to serve in the positions indicated until the next annual meeting of the council.
Thank you, Kenny. I have a motion to approve the nominating committee report. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Sue Simmons. The motion has been made and seconded. Would you please see your screens now for the nominating committee report approval poll and select yes or no, and then be sure to click submit at the bottom of your screen. While that's going on, I note that there are some questions coming in people were hoping to have addressed through a chat room Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do that during this meeting. However, if you will please forward your questions to our administrative executive assistant, Maureen Elroy, she'll be sure to route them to the right person and we'll get you a response as quickly as we can. Thank you very much for your patience.
President Schwab, at this point, it has been about a minute and a half, and 47 participants have voted, all in favor of approving the report. Should I close the poll?
Yes, please. Thank you, Terry. I am pleased to say that the nominating committee report has been approved and the elected individuals will assume their positions at the conclusion of this meeting. Personally, that is a wonderful thing. And I want to congratulate all of our newly elected leaders and tell all of you that at their next regularly scheduled meetings, all of those individuals will be duly sworn into their new positions. And now it gives me great pleasure to thank and welcome the person who will take over as president of the council and chairman of the executive board, Mark Passament, to say a few words. Mark, thank you.
Thanks so much, Stephen. So thank you all for joining us this evening. And first, I'd like to begin to say, again, a big thank you to Stephen. You know, when Pathway to Adventure was formed some 4 years ago, we're under interesting times for scouting then too. And, you know, Craig Burkhart was happy to begin the merger of the council, but Stephen was instrumental in coming together and has given us such great guidance during these last 3.5 years, especially as Pathway has sort of grown up. So thank you for all the work that you do, Stephen, and thank you for your dedication to the youth of the communities that Pathway serves.
Thank you.
As Stephen mentioned, and as everybody mentioned, we're under interesting times, aren't we? I mean, we're doing this from our homes because, well, we have to. But scouting is alive more than ever today. It is still a great time to be a scout. And so a lot of people have asked me, what's my vision for Pathway to Adventure as we move forward? My vision is similar to what's going on in our community today. We're adopting a new reality. There's different habits we're going to form because of this, well, this situation around us that has caused us to shelter in place, social distance, and it's created new opportunities. Scouting is going to go forward and we're going to find new and interesting ways to be able to connect with each other and to learn from each other. Because remember, at the basis of this program, we teach youth in a structured way how to take care of themselves and how to lead through experiences. And we're doing just that during this time. But more than ever before, especially under Stephen's leadership and the rest of the leaders that are on our video today, we are inclusive to our entire community, and we will remain so. We're going to continue to make certain that we invite in all in our community to participate in our program as it's valuable to them. We know that will be working well and our program's well received. As we grow membership, more people will flock to us. They'll spend time with us and they'll give us a little bit of their treasure, as Jerry mentioned. So that's the vision for the council, is for us to move forward as we have been, but to continue to move forward in a great direction. We know there's lots of things that we can accomplish, and we're going to do our best to do them, even under these tough circumstances. So again, thank you all to the leaders. Thank you to all the charter organization reps, and thank you to all our scouts for being a part of this organization. Back to you, Stephen.
Thank you, Mark. Now you all can see, having heard, why we've got great leadership in Pathway, in Mark, and all of those surrounding him going forward. It's going to be a wonderful time for scouting because it's going to give us an opportunity to shine like never before, especially when it's darkest right now. I'd now like to ask Scout Executive Jeff Isaac to say a few words. Jeff?
Stephen, thank you so much. I have something for you, although you can't receive it right now. This is for you, my friend. I'm going to read it and then I'm going to explain what this is all about. It says, growing together, open to all, Stephen W. Schwab, Council President, Pathway to Adventure Council, 2016 to 2020. So this is in the shape of infinity. and that stands for the last impression you will have on PTAC. The colors represent your emphasis for diversion and inclusion, and for diversity and inclusion in this council. And I want to thank you so much for the time I've spent with you as council president here. This is marks my 3 years here, and it's been a pleasure working with you and Sue to make this whole thing happen. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to give this to you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Absolutely, thank you.
If I pause for a moment, I'm sure all of you will appreciate why. That is going to take a very special place in my home. And I thank you all for that. I wanted to start, just spend a couple of minutes with all of you and let you know first how much more you've given me than I possibly ever could have given to any of you. Our council is aptly named. We started our journey on this pathway to adventure with a 3-point charge. Hire a scout executive, and we got a great one. Recruit an executive board and qualify for a charter, and get it done in 2 years. These are important considerations for a new scout council in setting the tone to move forward. We got them accomplished in the first year, and then we accomplished so much more. Our terrific scout executive, Jeff Isaac, brought us Restoring the Village. One of our devoted and devout scouters funded it with $1 million. We adopted a statement of commitment to inclusive diversity, and we wear a special patch to demonstrate it, and those words, growing together, open to all, are embroidered on the bottom of that patch. We recruited diverse and talented staff and leaders. We added an advisory council and an associate board, and we have an Eagle Scout youth sitting on every one of our leadership boards. Our associate board created our unifying virtual 155-mile Pathway to Adventure trail. We cut the ribbon for that trail in the midst of 5,189 people who attended our first camporee. Last year, those same attendees helped us achieve growth in membership, which is a remarkable percentage of individuals who included youth who previously could not participate in scouting. And we celebrated over 1,400 Eagles in the last 3.5 years, summits and quartermasters, of whom we challenged to give back as leaders when they become adults, one of whom earned all 3 of those coveted awards. Everywhere we went, everywhere I went, we were met with smiling faces of youth, their families, and volunteers. We even got to meet the granddaughter of Baden Powell at our camporee. Including her, we made many new friends and we developed new leaders, far too many now. And so tonight, we pass the Pathway baton to wonderful, talented, capable, experienced leaders who take on new or renewed positions. And these are just a few of the accomplishments that we together, you and I, we all achieved on the Pathway to Adventure. But more important, I go back to something that Jerry and Mark both emphasized. We changed lives and we improved our communities. As Mark said, our communities are hurting and they're challenged right now. But thanks to scouting, we live in a world of opportunities, in a galaxy of hope, and a universe of love. Our ideals are firm and our spirit is indomitable. I want to say thank you to the love of my life, Debbie, and to my sons, Ben and Jason. Without them, I couldn't have done any of this. And I want to thank all of you and everyone else in Pathway for all that you have done and for all that you will do for scouting. That concludes the business of the 2020 annual meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting that will hopefully pass with more affirmative than negative votes?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Sue Simmons. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Jerry Brand. Your Zoom microphone is working just fine. A motion has your screens for the adjournment approval poll and select yes or no, and then submit at the bottom of your screen.
But I do enjoy being with you all.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen.
Susan.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Stephen.
Thanks everyone for being here tonight.
Thank you.
I'm going to
Thank you.
enjoy working with all of you in different ways. Mark, go get him, man. We are so glad to have you at the helm.
Absolutely.
I'm going to assume that that motion has passed,
Yes.
and I'm going to wish everybody a good, safe evening. I hope you stay safely ensconced with your families and your loved ones, and I'm happy to say that 100% of those voting approved adjournment. Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.